Hey, everyone. Stop scrolling for just a moment, because today we're starting a story that you might not want to hear, but absolutely need to. This is the story of a silent life that was just beginning, unnoticed, unseen, and heartbreakingly alone. Our focus today is a tiny, scruffy little cat we've named Ember. If you walked down the main street downtown, she'd be nothing more than a shadow darting between dumpsters, a flash of dull orange and gray fur lost in the noise. She was poor, utterly unnoticed, and spent her entire existence living a parallel life to the thousands of people bustling around her every day. Ember was never a cute kitten meant for someone's lap. She was a survivor built for the unforgiving concrete jungle. She lived quietly among the busy streets, mastering the art of invisibility. Her home was a tangled mess of broken pallets behind a closed-down warehouse, offering little protection from the cold rains or the summer heat. Every waking moment was a calculation: where to find the next scrap, how to avoid the territorial tomcats, and most importantly, how to stay completely out of the way of the massive, indifferent human world. Ember had learned early that humans were sources of two things: danger or agonizing disappointment. They never seemed to look down. In a world full of people, no one saw her pain. Think about that for a second. Thousands of footsteps passed within inches of her hiding spot every single day. People talking on their phones, laughing, arguing, rushing to work, or heading home to warm beds. But not one person stopped. Not one pair of eyes truly registered the desperation etched into her small, weary face. She wasn't starving to death, not yet, but she was living on the absolute edge. Her fur was matted, evidence of months of neglect and living outside in the dirt. Her eyes, normally a cat's most expressive feature, were dull and cloudy, reflecting the hopelessness of her routine existence. We often talk about the noise of the city, but Ember's life was defined by the silence of indifference. The city roared, but her silent plea for help was completely drowned out. She carried herself with the heavy burden of constant vulnerability. She was never safe. Every siren, every sudden movement, every unexpected shadow sent a jolt of pure panic through her tiny body. This wasn't living. It was merely existing in a state of continuous fear. Now, 4 weeks, our local team had received sporadic reports about a sickly-looking stray in that industrial area. But this part of the city is huge, and catching a street-savvy cat that specializes in hiding is nearly impossible. We drove by, we set up humane traps, and we left food, hoping to coax her into view. Each attempt failed. Ember was too smart, too conditioned to distrust, too terrified to accept a handout. She had become an expert at dodging rescue, until one afternoon, when a storm broke. It wasn't just rain. It was a torrential downpour, the kind that floods the streets and turns every alleyway into a miserable river. That's when Ember's carefully constructed world of survival finally began to collapse. She was soaked through, shivering uncontrollably, and for the first time, she was too exhausted and cold to run. She was found huddled beneath a discarded tire, barely mobbing her silent life, finally reaching a painful breaking point. When our rescuer, Sarah, approached, Ember didn't bolt. She didn't hiss. She simply watched with those cloudy, defeated eyes. It was a look that said, "I have nothing left to lose." Sarah gently wrapped her in a thick towel, and for the very first time in what was likely her whole young life, Ember felt warmth and softness that was on a sun-baked patch of pavement or a ragged piece of cardboard. The moment Sarah lifted Ember, you could feel the weight of months of fear lift away. Back at the clinic, the reality of Ember's neglect became starkly clear. She was severely underweight, dehydrated, and suffering from a debilitating upper respiratory infection that was making it incredibly hard for her to breathe. The dullness in her eyes wasn't just sadness, it was infection. Her silent suffering was now audible in the wheezing sound of her labored breathing. This silent life, this quiet struggle, was now our responsibility. We know many of you are here because you love these rescue stories, and you want to see the transformation. But that transformation requires more than just good intentions. It requires resources, medication, specialized food, and round-the-clock care. Ember is just one example of the countless animals living this way, struggling in silence right under our noses. Her story isn't just about saving one cat, it's about acknowledging the hidden suffering that goes on when the world decides not to look. If Ember's story touches you, if you feel that pang of responsibility for the animals that nobody notices, please consider supporting our efforts. A simple share of this video helps raise awareness, and if you're able, every single donation, no matter how small, directly funds the critical care that Ember needs right now to start a new life. A life that will no longer be silent. A life that will hopefully be filled with warmth, safety, and love. Click the link in the description to see Ember's recovery updates and find out how you can contribute to her journey. Thank you for caring, and thank you for being the people who do look down. We'll see you soon with an update on Ember's progress.